No Mbuemo. Yes, Mbuemo. Last night, David Ornstein confirmed that Bryan Mbuemo has chosen Manchester United as his preferred destination. This news has ignited excitement amongst United fans, especially considering the phenomenal season he's just had with Brentford, scoring 20 goals with 7 assists. But the pressing question remains, people. How would Mbuemo integrate into Ruben Amorim's system if this deal goes through? In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into Mbuemo's profile, analyze his playing style, and explore how he could seamlessly fit into Amorim's tactical setup. Let's begin with an introduction to the player, and we will gradually build on our analysis. So, Bryan Mbuemo, 25 years old, born on the 10th of August, 1999, although I'd probably check his passport because he could be fit anywhere from 30 to 50. The fact that I'm nearly 5 years older than him is just mental, by the way. Yeah, genetics, I suppose. But he's the Cameroonian international, but also holds a French citizenship. His position is, you would probably say, primarily kind of a right winger, but he is capable of kind of floating about that attacking pitch, which I'll dive into a little bit later on. He's played as a second striker, as a centre forward, so he's adaptable, he's versatile, which is what we love at Manchester United. In his early stages, he developed at a club called Troyes in France, which is a League 2 team, before making a move to Brentford in 2019 for just £5 million. 5 million quid, which is just fucking mental. I think there'll be no secret this season, and Mbuemo's, like I touched on, he scored 20 goals, 7 assists across 38 league games, making it his best season by a decent margin, and ending the season as the 4th top goal scorer in the Premier League. In previous seasons, he's had 9 goals and 6 assists in 23-24, and then 9 goals and 8 assists the year before, so relatively consistent, and even in those seasons, that's a better season than what Rasmus Højlund and Xerxes just done. Rasmus Højlund got 4 goals and 0 assists, and Xerxes got 3 goals and 1 assist. So even in his poorer seasons, he was doing better than our current players. So enough of the light stuff. Let's get into playing styles and strengths. Like I said, typically a second striker, inverted winger, that kind of Mo Salah kind of position. A left-footed player who operates on the right flank, allowing him to cut inside, shoot, create opportunities with others. You know, for example, you can imagine Ahmad overlapping runs, some underlapping runs, cutting inside. He's got a really, really strong finish, a left foot, absolute whip on him. A very good crosser of the ball. You know, there are numbers to kind of back that up, which I'll get into a little bit later when I get into the statistics. A strong technician. Great dribbler with close control. Again, similar to Ahmad, he can navigate tight spaces very easily. Little nutmegs, take on defenders, round the corner. He's got it all. He's got it all. And from a technical standpoint as well, if you look at some of his goals, well-timed volleys. Like he scored some absolute bangers against like Tottenham and a few other clubs. Southampton, I think there was one as well. His first touch is really, really good. Like deafening almost. You fizz it into him, he could just kill the ball dead and then nutmeg a player. And something I noticed as well, he has that kind of ability. You watch some players and wingers sometimes, the anticipation and the measurement of the ball. Like it looks like he's not going to get it. I'm getting mixing words there. It looks like he's not going to get it. And just 2 seconds, just before the defender's about to dive in, and he'll just bang round the corner. Like, he's a super, super intelligent player. That's something that doesn't really get mentioned with him. I think his off-the-ball movement as well is something that Ruben Amorim will really, really appreciate. You know, his positioning, the runs that kind of disrupt the defensive lines in behind, creating space for other teammates. And him and Vissa have that kind of telepathic connection where they just know where each other are. And, of course, it's going to take a bit of time to develop that with players like Cunha and Ahmad and whoever we get as the 9. Not to mention his work rate as well, which is something that a lot of coaches demand now. High defensive contributions, tracking back to support the fullbacks, pressing opponents, effective flair. Like he's a decent tackler. There's a situation, I think it was against Watford, in the middle of the pitch where they go on the attack. He jogs back, pinches it off. It might have been Sissoko or another player. I'll put an example on the screen. Wins it back for his team, and they go on kind of a dangerous transition. So that's just little bits of what he's capable of. But he's very aggressive off the ball, which you absolutely need in the Premier League. And speaking of the Premier League, let's take a look at some of his stats. So I've done a bit of digging. So he's 4th for most big chances created in the Premier League, 17. 5th for most chances created in general with 70. 7th for most minutes played, and there's quite a few keepers in that list as well. So he's 3,140 45 minutes, so he's durable, doesn't pick up a lot of injuries, which is fantastic. First for most crosses in the league. He's had 202 crosses. Takes a lot of corners for Brentford as well. So he's got a whipping action, which we absolutely need. Pause. But yeah, we need good crosses of the ball, I think. We lack that a bit in Ruben Amorim's system, so that's fantastic. Fifth behind Bruno for most corners taken, so 87. And he clocked the third fastest speed in the Premier League, so 36.6 kilometers per hour, which is rapid. Just behind Van der Ven and Mateus Nunes. So a man of many talents. So why does Amorim want him specifically for this system? We know Amorim predominantly utilises a 3-4-3 formation, which transitions into a more of a kind of 3-2-5 shape whilst in the attacking phase, and sometimes 3-1-6 depending on the opposition, which we saw in Bilbao. In terms of key tactical elements, there is an emphasis from Amorim on winning the ball high up the pitch, which we don't have players currently who are good at that. Think about Ahmad, where some of his goals have come against Everton and PAOK, and we don't really have players like that, so and Mbuemo would be an addition. The wing-backs provide width and support both offensively and defensively, and typically there would be, you know, a fluid front three, depending who's in there with interchangeable roles. So Cunha and Mbuemo, Gyökeres, let's say, for example, they can all kind of float across the pitch. You know, Gyökeres just wide, Cunha going central, and I think them kind of players will help with that immensely. When we talk about the 2 10s in the system and the demands, maintaining width, pressing intensity, but also having that intelligence, knowing when to drift inside, when to break the line, all of that's super important. People always talk about pace and power and you know, athleticism, but it's also, there's so many things included when you're evaluating a player now who Cunha and Mbuemo operate on all levels very high, like 7, 8 out of 10 in everything. And I think that's perfect for what we need. So if we was to actually integrate Mbuemo into this system, I think his natural position aligns with the right forward role in a 3-4-3, so it's absolutely fine. Where he can cut inside on his left foot, look for Ahmad on the outside. I alluded to before, you know, overlapping runs, or get to the byline, let Ahmad drift inside sometimes. I think that flexible rotation would be something that's really, really interesting. He's a left footer as well. We don't have a lot of left footers, and we know Amorim's preference on that. He likes, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I started Dorgu at right back, I think, and Ahmad as well at wing back, who I think that will probably be his role more going forward, which I don't mind because he's always got space and to run at defenders, so more of a winger, if you will. He's also capable, exceptional, actually, at 1v1. He's just got such great dribbling in tight spaces. There's millions of examples for Brentford where he's just killing teams, even if there's 2-3 players around him, similar to Cunha. Again, solid finisher on both feet. And yeah, he's got those kind of crosses to the back post, can drill it across. He's really, you know what, the more I speak about him, the more watching, more I'm like, he's such a well-rounded player, honestly. We know that with any team at the minute, there is a high demand for high work rate, pressing from the front. You look at, and obviously that aligns with Amorim's philosophy as well, but you look at PSG, for example, I'm sure the majority of you has watched that game. Look how intense they are from the front. They was forcing mistakes from, you know, an old Inter Milan team, it has to be said, but they just couldn't play out from the back. You know, they've still got players like Bastoni and Barella and Kalahoglu and these guys. They couldn't get any time on the pitch whatsoever. And having players like Cunha and Mbuemo pressing from the front, Ahmad, Bruno, absolute workhorses, that press will then become more collective as well and more relentless and more durable runners and knowing when to cut off passing lanes and stuff. And it just makes it really difficult and tricky. I remember a game against Everton that United played when they went 2-0 up, I think, at Goodison Park. And the way even they was pressing from the front, they was causing problems. We don't see that for Manchester United. So that's something that he will definitely add to. Positional flexibility. You talk about, I mentioned PSG in the final there. Look at their front three. Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Desire Doué. Sometimes you see Desire Doué drifting left, Kvaratskhelia going in centre. Like, they're very, very fluid forwards, which makes it almost impossible for centre-backs to fucking mark someone. They have an absolute headache. Imagine putting Xerxes in that forward line as well. He's dropping. Cunha's running in behind him. Mbuemo's dropping. Like, it causes nightmares for defences. And it's so effective when you get it done right. So maybe we might see a forward three of Xerxes, Cunha and Mbuemo. It could work, but I would rather sign a proper number 9, a Gyökeres or an Osman or something like that for me personally. Not only just the threat of creating chances, but you've got counter-pressing, driving with the ball. Counter-attacks are going to be rapid now in transition. Yeah, I'm excited about this signing, man. I said before as well, one of the quickest players in the league on record. Very scary for transitional moments. So where does the tactical advantages come for Man United then? We're talking about someone who is going to provide a consistent threat on the right, which is an area we know where United have lacked stability. I mean, tell me who's been an out-and-out right-sided player for us on a consistent basis. Ahmad's been incredible, but he had a big injury this season, so he's not played as much. He seems like he's going to the wing-back role. There's a void there, you know. I feel like since Antonio Valencia, there's been a void. We've been struggling. Obviously, Greenwood played there for a bit. With Wan-Bissaka, they weren't quite a connection. Dan James, I mean, yeah, we haven't had that solid player there who's, you know, coming into his prime years, and Mbuemo fits that, absolutely. Goal contributions, obviously, he adds a significant portion of that. The 20 goals, him and Cunha is 35 goals between them in the league, which is, I think we scored 44 as a whole team last season. So that's in 2 players. And I don't need to tell you that goals win games, do I? So, yeah, not to mention the goals that added to that. Also, the squad depth and competition. We don't have a regular players there at the moment, so hopefully it'll be healthy competition if we do bring more players in. But if Mount and Bruno and Mainu are also going to be fighting for that position, it just adds that extra little bit level of bite. If you have a player who's playing there who just knows he's going to be there 9 times out of 10, like Maguire under Oli or Wan-Bissaka, the levels can drop slightly because you don't have that competition. You don't have someone pushing you like Luke Shaw had with Telles. So, yeah, I think the overall squad depth and competition is interesting. And tactical versatility as well. You know, you've got options there, so many different options, which allows for kind of seamless transitions between different attacking setups and whatever kind of opposition you're coming up against. You've got different levels of threats across the pitch. And last season, one of the biggest takeaways from it was our attack is absolutely dog shit. It is terrible. You go from having Garnacho, who doesn't really suit Amorim's system, Højlund, who just looks void of all confidence and has had a terrible season, and then whoever fills in on the right hand side, take your fucking pick from Mount, Kobe, whoever it is. Transforming that to Cunha and Mbuemo and Gyökeres, well then, you've got some fucking attack there. So this is a fantastic start from Manchester United, getting those 2 players in. Like I said, get the number 9, get an athletic midfielder who can cover the ground and bomb up and down the pitch and maybe sit alongside Bruno Fernandes because he's staying now as well. And this is a decent start from Ineos, but we need to build on it. We need to get a midfielder. You need to get a wing back. You probably need a goalkeeper as well. But you'd have to think with those kind of quality players, Ahmad, Bruno, Gyökeres, fucking Cunha and Mbuemo, if you're not fighting top 6 next season with those kind of players in your team, there is something systematically wrong at Manchester United. So welcome Mbuemo if the deal definitely does go through. He's interested in Man United. We're willing to pay around £50 million. Let's see what happens with the deal. But hopefully this has shed a little bit of light on what kind of player he is, how he would adapt into the system, and what to expect if he signs that dotted line. Thank you very much for watching, especially the Real Red Ultras. If you are a member, really, really appreciate the support. You will get early access to this. For regular viewers as well, obviously that will come out a couple of days after it. If you want to become a member, click the join button next to the notification bell and become a Real Red Ultra. My name is Nick. Welcome to Manchester, Bryan Mbuemo. Maybe. I'll see you in the next one.